Hello and welcome to the Change Gang podcast with me, your host, Laura Ordile. I'm here to help you hold on to your sanity and your soul as you move through big change. I'm here to guide you from frustration to flow in your life, bridging the practical and the woo, just for you. Let's go. All right, welcome to the week, Change Gang. I have a very fun person here today. Her name is Niki Kinsella, and Niki is amazing. She's an intuitive, spiritual, and business coach for women wanting a holistic approach to moving through their blocks. I happen to know she's written an amazing book, and she is all over social media. And if you find her, she's just a super fun person to be hanging out with. So thanks for being here, Niki. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Gosh, I wasn't even sure which way to go with this because you do I love that you encompass a few different things. And you even say that you kind of combine mindset work, business coaching, and feminine energy to do that. You actually wrote a book and shared about feminine energy. It was a little bit of a story of you embracing your own through the process of life. Do you want to share a little bit about why you wrote the book?
Thank you for buying me book. I created the Feminine Energy Guide a few years ago because I didn't have any feminine energy. I was always in my masculine. I was always doing. I was always pushing. My mum used to say to me, will you just sit down for 5 minutes? And I'd be like, no, I'm too busy. And I felt like if I wasn't sitting down, I was being lazy and I had all this nervous energy. I suffered from anxiety and depression for a good few years. And that was because of my lifestyle, which I'll probably get to in a minute. But yeah, I realized that there is absolute power in just surrendering to our feminine energy and leaning back and slowing down and being more nurturing to ourselves, especially, and giving ourselves permission to just lean the other way a little bit, because as women, we have cycles naturally anyway, don't we? So sometimes of the month we are a little bit less energetic and a little bit slower. And back in the day, we all used to go to the red tent together and spend that whole week of our cycles together. So, but yet the feminine energy, it's really changed my life. It's helped me to trust myself, become more self-aware, and make decisions that really feel aligned and that make me want to make squeaky noises and pee glitter everywhere. But before, I would look outside of myself and I'd ask other people what they thought about my opinions and what do you think I should do? Should I do this and should I do that? And I think we always get that gut reaction, don't we? But we don't know how to spot it sometimes. So we don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to be laughed at. We don't want to be rejected. All the limiting beliefs that we've got around why we do what we do and the decisions that we make. So I think becoming intuitive and just listening to my body, understanding what's going on, leaning back and then going, that feels like so fucking exciting. I just want to squee. And then they're the decisions. They're your yeses, aren't they? It's like your internal compass. I don't know if you can relate to that, Laura, just by sometimes you'll get a pull and it's oh my God, I know this is the right thing. And sometimes it's a pull and a push because you'll want to do it, but it makes you scared. So you'll get the pull and then the push and the inner bitch comes in and starts chatting all sorts of shite to you and you can't get out your head. So it's about becoming aware enough to know what is your yes and what are your fears, and then looking at your limiting beliefs and your triggers, looking at your inner bitch in the eyeballs basically and be like, right, what are you here to teach me? Why are you showing up? What do I need to learn? As opposed to just going into that, oh my God, this is so scary, and flapping around the place. It gives us more control.
Yes, it definitely does. And that's that's where I step in, is if that gets stuck in that loop or you can't get out of some of that. I work with the subconscious and kind of clearing that, as you say, inner bitch and getting door open so that you can move forward. And I think one of the things that you talked about is pretty key in being able to access all of our energy, all of who we are. And I think over the years, and even if you believe in it or not, I believe that, a lot of it comes from kind of the ancestral line of the energy that we have, and good and bad, that we often embrace the difficult part of it, or that part that keeps us kind of tamped down when we're actually meant to embrace like the really powerful part that comes from that too. Because no matter how squished down, unfortunately, our female ancestors have been in life, they've also had a really strong energy that's come through too. And if we can tap into that, I think it just is an amazing thing to do. Do you find that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we understand, so it's something like 7 lineages, isn't it, that we've got like cellular memory from. So for whatever you believe, if you think about the generation where the witches were, you know, our ancestors were probably witches, or the women that survived that era. So if you think of all the conditioning that's involved in that, I don't know what you know about the witch wound. I've only just started unpicking a few little bits about it, but things like, if one of your friends was called a witch, you had to cast her out because it wasn't safe for you. So you literally had to throw your best mate under a bus to stay safe, or, you know, you wouldn't be seen and you would hide your gifts and so it wasn't safe to speak. You just didn't want to be noticed. If you were too beautiful, you were a witch. If you were too ugly, you were a witch. If you were clever at this, you were, you know, there was no escape. So we had that ingrained in us and then there was the patriarchy, wasn't there? And all the women are not this and not that and whatever. But we've been silenced for a very long time. And I think now it's about finding that balance. So being feminine and embracing your feminine energy isn't about demasculinating men at all. It's about empowering everyone, because we've all got masculine and feminine energy. And I would never want to make anybody feel like they were less than who they are. I want to empower and encourage everybody. But I think a lot of people get it a bit wrong when they find, because there is a lot of feminine power around at the moment, isn't there? And it's like, woo, women this and women that. And there was a program on Netflix called The Woman King. And I was like, I'm not quite sure about that title, because it's not really, like, shouldn't she be a queen? Why does she have to be a king? So, do you know, you can take it a bit too far sometimes, can't you? But I just think we should all recognise that we're here. You know, some days men are quite feminine. Some days I'm feisty, I'm like bitey, and my husband's all like, oh, and then other days it is 10. So it's about having that balance. But ancestrally, like, I come from a long line of broken women, and I think my mum was the start of the cycle breakers, where she was like, no, you can do whatever you want to do. And she wasn't told that by her mother. She was told that she had to do this and had to do that and had to work this job to bring money in to give to her mum. And like, my nan was a narcissist, unfortunately. And she held us all back for a very, very long time. But my mum just believed that, like, you know, you can do what you want, and you should, because she'd been there. So she didn't want to carry on that. She wanted to like set it free. And I think just her believing in me, although I do believe she had to go for me to do what I'm doing now, because she was my rock. And I think I relied on her a little bit too much. And she always got me out of trouble. If I ever needed money or a loan or something bad was happening, she was always there. And then when she died 6 years ago this year, and I just remember looking at her thinking, oh my God, like, what, it's all down to me now. And I had friends and stuff like that, but I didn't really have any female friends. It was just sort of me and my mum. And then now I've got like all these, I call them like my sisters, because I love them more than my family sometimes, because they're just, we find our tribe, don't we? When we start being authentically who we are, we attract the right light.
Yes. Oh my gosh, there's so much in all that you just said. And one of those things, I absolutely agree with you that it does get taken too far sometimes, the feminine power thing. And I think it's about bringing it back up to that equality level, not trying to surpass anything, because it is the balance of the yin and the yang and kind of bringing that in. And it's never going to be a perfect balance. Nothing ever is. Sometimes it's one way, sometimes it's another, but it's the flow that brings the balance. It's the flow that, as you can keep moving in it, it allows that to come into balance in a way. And yeah, unfortunately, I had some connections with some people at one point. I thought it was really great and kind of, you know, connecting with these women. And then all of a sudden it became kind of men bashing and, you know, the patriarch is bad and everything. And by the time I finally just had to say, I really like men, I'm probably going to have to go over here and not hang out anymore.
Yes. Why wouldn't you like men? I mean, there's good and bad in everyone, isn't there? You know, you can get good women, bad men, and all things like the other way around. But I think, like what you said, it's about you might have a strong woman that's perfect for this role over here, and you might need a gentler energy that suits this man that's over here, because who's to say? We're all souls in a meat suit, I believe. So I just think it should be the person who's the right person for it. I don't think it should matter about gender, but it gets bashed a lot, doesn't it? But that's a whole rabbit hole, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we're not going there. So, but we're not going there. But something else you said I think is key too, and it's something I've really tried to do in my own life. You know, you said that your mother really wanted to break the cycle of what had come before. And I found that with my own life. And I try, and I tell that constantly to my children. Do one thing better than I did. Do just one thing better than me. And hopefully, you know, pass that on to your kids to tell them to do one thing better than you. And through that, I think that does strengthen the line, and it does strengthen the energy that goes through and clears away the crap that's there. Because I love my mom, but she, and my mom not passed probably close to the same time as yours, and she did not apologize in her lifetime until she was within a month or two of her death. And then some of the apologies started. But I can distinctly remember never having her apologize. And so I've tried really with my kids to apologize and make that an important part of knowing and saying, hey, I got it wrong. Yes. I did this.
Absolutely. I do that with my kids all the time, and I explain what's happened as to why I overreacted or to why this is happening, or, you know, like why it's a no. It's not just a no because I said, it's a no because it's a school night, it's Tuesday and your friend can't sleep over because you won't get any sleep. So we can do it on Friday, but not today. Not just, you know, children should be seen and not heard. And it's just no because I said, because I'm the boss. Like, I want to be friends with my kids, and I want them to be better than me, and I want to inspire them to do better things like what you, but how gorgeous, because I think going back a few generations, it was about having like respect for your parents, wasn't it? And they were the best, and you weren't allowed to be better than them because it was all. So for you to say that, it's like really gorgeous that you, but that's what we want deep down for our kids, isn't it?
I do. Yeah. And again, there's that flow, you know, of bringing in mutual respect and yet still being the parent, wanting to have that friendship, still being the parent, kind of guiding, because we're the guide for them. We're the people that show them that life has boundaries, that life has reasons, that life is important to find that flow and be in there. Was it hard for you to write the book and share some of your journey and the things that you shared about maybe your nan being a bit narcissistic? And I remember you did tell some stories in there too about some of the instances that you remember, you know, that were difficult with her, if I recall right.
So yeah, it was because I was worried about what the family would say. But I actually, so obviously my mum had gone and my nan passed away 4 weeks after my mum. I remember shouting, "Look out, she's coming." But I'm a believer, massive believer in like the afterlife and connecting to, and like my mum's with me all the time, but I had a card reading or like a spiritual reading, and they said that my mum and my nan were together, and my nan actually apologised for being, as she says, a bastard on the earth plane, because she was an absolute, she just, if you were happy, she did everything in her power to make sure you weren't happy. She didn't like anything. She'd never left the country. She never went on holiday. Why would I want to go anywhere else? It's crap. It's nothing was good. Everything was like, you know, really negative. So when I wrote it, it was my truth. And there was a couple of other things I wrote about other people in there that were also my truth. And I think we've got to remember that. So I put a disclaimer in at the front saying, like, these are my versions of what I believe happened. I've changed some of the names. I haven't named anybody. Like things with my ex-husband, who was an even bigger narcissist than me nan. You know, I was worried that he was going to like hunt me down and find me, but he's not named in the book. People who know me will know who he is. But, you know, that is my truth. So why shouldn't I be allowed to share that? But honestly, I was in a cupboard.
Okay. Well, so, and I think it's important that you do share your story, because when you're able to do that, sometimes it even gives you a different perspective when you start digging into those stories and you look at them and you do, it's like, okay, I'm going to put this out there and share my story. And then you look at it and go, is that true? Was that true?
Yeah, because you think, am I being a drama queen? Like, did that really happen? But it did. And you question yourself about it. And then as you're writing it, I was reliving it.
Yeah.
So a lot of healing happened when I was writing my book, and a lot of anxiety. Like when it was being published, I was like, what are people going to think of this? Are they going to think it's just a big sob story? But it wasn't. It was to show where I'd been and where I am now. Not saying like, oh my God, I'm this amazing person, but we've all been through tough times, haven't we? And I think sharing from that heart space and being like, look, this is what happened to me. And if I can change and get sober and put myself first and be a nice human and kind to myself and everybody else, then you can do that too. Because I was talking to a client this morning. We had a session, and I've worked with her for about 12 months now. And who she was 12 months ago is not who she is today, because last 12 months ago, she was like, oh my God, I need these people in my life. What if they're not there? You know, I'll be nothing. And she needed people to complete her. Whereas now she's like, I don't really know if I need these people in my life anymore, because she's so happy with who she is. And I do similar work to you, I think, Laura, like removing all the shit that people carry around and unpicking the blocks and just holding a mirror up to people sometimes and being like, this is what you've just said. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, that's a hard one sometimes, isn't it? That mirror. It's like, no, that wasn't, oh.
Yeah.
But it is often. And that's what I think, like with you writing the book, it is that mirror that kind of comes, and it is healing to be able to share your story and go, okay. And I think when you do that, it helps with the healing process. And if you can show, that's one of my things that is so important to me. And I get so stuck with people or not stuck. I get irritated that people think they're stuck, or that they are too broken to be healed, or people tell them, well, you're just going to have to deal with that for the rest of your life, or that's how you're going to be. And it's so not true. It's so not true. And if you can be the example of, see, it is possible. It is possible to have a good life, to have the fun life, to have a sober life, if that's what you choose. I deal with so many people who get so afraid in the moment that they're not going to have any more fun in life if they don't do the alcohol, or they're not in the drugs, or they're not doing, the risque behavior, whatever that might be in their life. And it's like, no, you don't. You're creating your fun. You're creating your life. You're creating your joy. It doesn't have to be coming from outside.
I think what we chase, what I found, when it's a sunny day and you get that little excited feeling in your belly and you're like, oh, I'll have a drink. But actually, the feeling that you want to get from the drink is the feeling that you've already got. So that's what I found. I was like, hang on a minute, why am I wanting that when I've got this? And tomorrow I'm going to be dead for 5 days because I'll be vomiting and I'll feel shit and I'll feel ashamed because of all the things I've done, because I'll have took drugs and I'll have done stupid things and said things I didn't, or I shouldn't have said, probably, that were true. And it's all of that. And then you get like beer fear and anxiety, but actually I can go out now. I mean, I do have a drink every now and again. I'm not 100% sober. If I want to have one, I can, but I don't need to have one. And it's very rare that I will. So like, I had a pint of Guinness in Ireland last week when I was in Ireland, because I was in Ireland. I've got to have a pint of Guinness. I was pissed because I got a drunk on Christmas Day. But on Christmas Day, I wanted some Malibu, so I had some, and it's those choices, isn't it? It's like knowing and remembering that, like, I'm always in control. Because for me, what used to happen was the alcohol happened first and then the drugs. So it was like a hand in hand. So now I have to be really careful who I'm with or around, because if any of that's happening, there's temptation. And it's when you've had a drink, it can be. So I'm happy to go out with whoever and they're doing whatever when I'm sober. And I'd prefer it like that. And my stays out my business. I don't feel happy. I feel anxious. And it's the whole, like, I'm 44 nearly now. And I think you get to a certain age and your body goes, we're not doing this anymore. I'm going to make you sick out your eye. And then you'll never do it again. But yeah.
It does tend to change in your body. I'm actually a little older than you, and it probably took me a little longer to figure that out. But yeah, it does change things. And the same place as you, where if I want to have a drink, I'll have a drink. If I'm out celebrating or doing, I would have the Guinness and maybe a Jameson if I'm in Ireland, just because, or I might try some Scotch or some whiskey in Scotland if I go to Scotland or something. But I think that memory of the pain in my body and the difficulty of how it feels at that point is more vivid than the sort of euphoria that you get, because that euphoria only lasts for like a few minutes and then you're gone. And it's like, oh, and I never quite measured the euphoria point very well.
Me neither. And what goes up must come down, right? So
yeah, that part sucked. Oh my goodness. Anyway, back onto the thing. So when you did that, when your mom passed and then you kind of stepped out and you headed in this direction, fear and all of writing the book, of doing it. I mean, you made some big steps for yourself. You invested in yourself. You did some amazing masterminds, had some great coaching in order to be the best kind of version of you, in order to help people in the way that you want to help them. And you do that with a mix of what I love about what I talk about all the time is the practical and the woo. You do that. And I think that's so important. People get lost in one or the other sometimes, of being so practical. And what I find is so hilarious is most of those really practical people dig into the woo and just don't call it that.
Yeah. And a lot of people think spirituality is religion, but it's actually not. It's just connection to your soul and your higher self and who you are. And I think I like to call it the facts and the fluff, because I like to explain the science behind the woo, like what practicing gratitude actually does to your body. How meditation. I did a workshop a few weeks ago in my free group, and I did like all the facts about the fluff. And one of the facts was people who meditate regularly are 49% less likely to get cancer in their lifetime.
That's 49%. Big.
If that doesn't make you want to meditate, like there's so much cancer in my family, and I eat clean and I do everything that I can to like not attract it in any sort of way. But, whatever happens. But I just think 10 minutes a day, less than 1% of your day, and all the other benefits that it has as well, like lowering your blood pressure and helping you with clarity and, all the grounding, and like grounding's got amazing benefits. Standing out, look at all that gorgeous grass behind you, like putting your feet on there. I'd be laying in that all day. Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
It does. I talk about that sometimes, and some people call it earthing, because we've lost that connection to our earth. We live in buildings and we don't walk barefoot and we drive in cars. And some people, especially in cities, don't have the connection to the earth hardly ever at all. And it changes physically, and the balance of your energy, literally, like the electrical balance of your body, when you step onto the earth, because it's recharged all the time with lightning and with all of the things. And so then that's brought into our body and changes, and it takes away inflammation. It takes away and clears all of these amazing things. And people don't know that. I didn't know that totally. It's bonkers. And when you read it and you go, oh my God, so a few minutes outside with my feet on the grass is going to help me like to sleep better, to have less pain, to be less inflamed, to be in a better mood, breathing in that gorgeous air, and like even going out after it's rained, there's all the negative ions in the air. And if you just have a good sniff of them, and it's the little things. I think people think it's got to be big things to make big changes, but actually it's loads of little things. So it's knowing, 10 minutes meditation in the morning. I ground myself every hour, maybe a couple of times an hour, because I go right into my head. I overwhelm myself. I'm surrounded by essential oils and sage and all sorts of stuff, because they're just things that I have with me all the time, because I know that I need to stay regulated. Because I'm a manifesting generator, human design. I've got an open head. So I'm just like open for anything to come in and try and fill my head full of stuff at the same time. But that's not what I need to do. I need to ground myself so that I can think clearly about what I need to do instead of getting overwhelmed all the time. Yeah.
And at the same time.
Before we're done, I want to make sure. I love one of the things you said in the beginning too about the balance of being in an energy, and the masculine versus the feminine, and they both have amazing things. And I think sometimes people I'd love for you to kind of speak to this for a second. They think that, I don't want to, feminine energy is weak and you don't get anything done and it's just sappy. And people think that. They'll be like, ooh, kind of sissy. You're sissy. You're weepy, you're all this, all the negative things of feminine energy. And just like masculine energy has its negative and positive sides, feminine energy has its negative and positive sides. You bring out really the positive of the feminine energy. What are some of the things that you really encourage people to dive into on that end?
Intuition. So my whole process through the Feminine Energy Guide book is a self-awareness, and it starts with energy and the chakras, understanding how your body is working from the inside and the messages that it's giving you, and then the mindset. So like fear, inner bitch, limiting beliefs, all of that. And then looking at the cycles of the moon, the law of attraction. So all of these little things that help you get clear and become aware. And even like moon rituals, we've swapped rituals for routine. Now we have things that we have to do all the time. But years ago, we went with the cycles of the moon, and when the moon was full, we could do more because the sky was lighter. We could see more, we've got more energy. But when it was dark and she goes and she hides in the sky, we nurture ourselves, we go inwards and we feel, a bit slothy. But the feminine energy, the intuition part, we've all got it. But we're just conditioned to go up here all the time and to think about everything. Think about what you've done. Think about this, think about that. When we can connect to how we feel by just surrendering, by not pushing, by just leaning back a little bit and honoring our energy and creating a bit of space to just have a bit of a play, have a bit of flow, ground yourself, put some music on, pull some cards, write, get creative, ignite the creatrix within you. What do you love to do? It could be writing, it could be painting, it could be cooking, decorating. Anything that involves a bit of creativity will help you to just find joy, raise your vibration, you feel happy. And then it's like, right, what lights me up? What do I want to do from that space? And following your joy, put your blinkers on, stop comparing yourself to everybody else. The feminine energy, the divine feminine energy in alignment has strong boundaries. She's very nurturing and she will love the shit out of you. But if you cross her, she's absolutely unfuckwithable. She just will not have it, but in a very strong way. She will never sort of say anything to detriment anyone. Do you know what I mean? It's just like a strong no. And the same with the masculine, the divine masculine and the aligned masculine is all about having organization, creating structure and strong foundations. And actually, we need to start with our masculine energy because the masculine energy is what allows the feminine to flow. So think about your business. If we're just going to sit over here and create all the things, we're not ever going to bring anything into life. This is where we need the masculine. We need to things up, structures and foundations and strategies and things. But it's about, where are you today? What mood are you in? And what can you do? But again, the unaligned masculine is the ego and the power and the being better. But the feminine's got a bitchy side as well. If she's unaligned, she'll, it's just the
That's the truth. That's the truth. I love that. Well, Niki, I'm going to, of course, have it in the show notes, but can you tell people where they can find you, please?
Oh, yes, please. So, my website is nikikinsella.com. My book is The Feminine Energy Guide on Amazon, and I am Niki Kinsella on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, sure. And you have a free group on Facebook?
I do, called The Feminine Energy Guide. Thank you.
You do, because I'm a part of that and I love that. So I want to invite people to come and be a part of that as well. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Niki, and having such an honest and open chat with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, Change Gang. I hope you go off into the week and have a wonderful one and take in all of the things that Niki shared with you and go meet her and follow her and have fun with her. And I hope that you meet me right here, same time next week. I hope today's episode was interesting to you in some way and fun. If so, hey, find someone to share it with. Maybe they need to hear it too, or maybe they'll just enjoy it. If you'd like, go ahead and grab my tips on supercharging your success. It includes a free short meditation to do just that. You can find that at bit.ly/supercharge your success. Until next time, happy day.